Hello, and welcome back to my 5-year plan playthrough of RP-1. Maximal is back.
Yep.
We're back to the predictability of this. Um, so I want to look again at the that lunar launch vehicle because you do bring a good. So Lamont improved PVG support of launching to land, which also incidentally fixes the gives us a workaround for launch to land in general not working. Time launches. So let's look at this. Yeah, I know it's missing that part. So the other interesting thing that I did was I looked up how big a stage was needed for N1 for an Earth departure stage. And it was, I think, about 57 tons propellant with a single NK9V. Well, at that point, like an NK21 or whatever the heck it was. By the time we're doing this, we're going to have RD-58s.
Yeah, the RD-58 has a slightly better ISP, but mostly has a much better burn time.
Yes, that's the very relevant bit. Specific impulse is slightly worse than the NK21.
Yeah, I
But
mean that
3
RD-119
seconds
is not bad. If it didn't have that 4-minute burn time, it would be ideal.
Yes, the specific impulse is very impressive. Um, when does it unlock anyway?
Orbital 1961.
Okay. So yeah, that's, given that we only plan to ignite this once, that's probably the way we should go.
Well, that other one gives you 2 ignitions. This one's 3, so up to you.
RD-58 only has 2 ignitions?
No, RD-58 has 3. This one, the RD-119 has 2.
Huh, I thought it had more than 2.
This one, the one you're picking right now, just has 2.
Yeah,
I think.
okay. Sure enough. Oh, it's only 362. It's not actually that much better.
Yes.
It is somewhat better, however. The density advantage is also relevant because it'll decrease our dry mass. I don't know the difference in thrust to weight ratio of the engines. The great advantage of the RD-58, though, of course, is that it gimbals.
Yeah. The TWR on this is pretty good. It's only 160 kilograms, I think, for 100 newtons. Kilonewtons.
Hmm. Okay, we'll go with that, just to try for now. And we're going to want about somewhere around 56, 57 tons propellant. So let's see what we need to do for this. Okay.
We'll need like 7 or 8 of those.
Of the engines?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the advantage of the RD-58. Oh, you know what I think I'm doing wrong with... I think what I'm doing wrong performing maneuvers with MechJeb and Principia is I think I have to set inertially fixed, and I'm not setting it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know anything much about Principia, so.
It's been a long time since I've flown this stuff. Yeah, what kind of delta V do we need? So let's remove this mass because this is relevant. Oh, it looks like I already had removed it. Didn't remove that yet. All right, so what if we half-loaded this? If we half-load it, we have enough delta V to get to orbit. That's convenient.
On the one tanker theory of the case.
Yes.
Yeah.
The problem with the one tanker approach, however, is that I don't think we can quite do the other side of this.
Yeah, you need to account for your payload, so you need like
Yes.
1/3 load on this, and then full payload, and then the other has to have the 2/3 load.
Yep.
Which makes sense, because, I mean, you're not getting that much more efficiency to be able to do half an N1 with only 850
Yes.
tons.
All right, so we're at 860.
I think the only way this.
So that's 17 tons. That's about right. That's not quite there for the stack because we need the crasher stage.
I think the only way this size vehicle works out is if you can reduce your stack payload.
Yeah. Yep. So back to the waiting for science so I can preview some nodes so that I can see how it all works. Because, yeah.
Well, you have 2 moon orbiters put into orbit today, I think, right? So
Yep. Yeah, I'm just
out of
thinking
that.
about that. Yeah.
I'm not trying to push you along. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
no, but you're right. I will get a ton of science out of that. Yeah, and I did say I need to stream only a short time tonight, so we'll see how that works. I'm bad at that.
You want me to tell you? If
Yeah, probably.
An hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if I when I hit the hour mark, bonk me over the head.
Hey, no, Mr. Bond in silence.
All right, so the timing on this is interesting. So second generation capsules are going to unlock exactly when I need to be. Oh, no, wait, am I doing this wrong? When is this? Depart 14 November. Yeah, so this unlocks then, but we won't be able to start building it for another few weeks. Funny. Okay.
You could start your Mars vessel early as soon as improved comms finished.
Yep,
And then you
that's
could
the
start
last
your,
thing that I
yeah,
need to make it.
then your engineers will be free to start a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm probably going to want to put one of these in Earth orbit as well. For all the Earth orbit science from the next generation of experiments.
Mhm.
Although that needs very little. We'll just put it in basically a Molniya orbit, or a no, we'll do like a slightly offset synchronous orbit so that it doesn't. Yeah, I think we actually want something halfway between Molniya and Tundra, but
Spend half your time high and half your time low.
exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you want to optimize for a bit more time low because there's a bunch of stuff that's biome low and not biome high.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, okay, so these things don't need dual antennas, that's for sure.
Don't need deep space avionics either.
Uh, yeah, I guess they don't, but no, they kind of do though. Well, they sort of do.
Why?
Because I'm putting them in tundra orbits. I mean, I guess, like,
And then you're just leaving it there, right? You're not
right,
gonna.
but to do that, I need to be able to raise perigee at apogee.
Oh,
And then I need to reorient to the sun.
why do you need to raise perigee at apogee? Like if a specific tundra orbit, yeah, like, but you don't really care about the specifics.
I do though, because
Okay.
think about the geometry of it. Um, if I have a really low perigee, then I'm going to spend almost no time down by those biomes. I'm going to spend most of the time. Is that actually going to matter?
Not really. I mean, if the biomes only exist near your perigee, like, I don't know, I guess there's only certain latitudes that jungle exists, right?
Yeah,
But
I think basically the issue is that it's going to be very hard to get jungle and tropics if I do it that way.
you can solve that in lots of different ways.
Yeah, or I could just launch this again.
Yep, or you could just launch that again. But that thing has 2 ignitions, right?
Uh, the 11D33?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you could do a apoapsis raise to half your
Yeah, but I
apoapsis
want to
height.
send one with the apogee above the North Pole and one with the apogee below the South Pole.
Oh, okay.
Because that'll give me coverage of everything.
Sure. Fair enough.
Although,
Yeah, if you're right. If you're doing it two separate, different orbits, then yes, you're right.
yeah, so I think what I actually want to do is make a circular orbit of about 20,000 kilometers and then raise the other ones above geostationary height using their onboard propellants. And that'll be pretty much correct. Now, we know that we're using up about 550 bytes per second, which is 4.4 kbps. It's a rough guess. So let's antenna plan. We want TL3. Let's look at what UHF does at try that. Nowhere near what we want. All right, that's plenty. And it takes very little extra. 25 dBm on UHF. Now the other thing, oh yeah, I should just check and make sure my math is broadly correct. So we want to go from 200 by 200 to 20,000. That's a injection of 2.5 kmsec going out, and then the injection is 1431, so we definitely have enough on this stage. And then to go from 20,000 to something like 50,000, it's only 650, which we have on the probes. So that's all fine. Cool. All right. That seems fine. The other thing we're going to do is offset this down a little bit to see if that was the problem. Because I ran debug stuff on this and I didn't see any issues with the colliders. The thing here, as you can see, is that I manually offset it rather than using the node. So my guess is that the node is slightly inset into this tank.
Yeah, it could be.
Or conversely, the node is slightly offset into this decoupler. Either one could be true. So we'll go with that. It's still 38 days. You're right. Deep Space Avionics is spendy, but I think I've convinced myself that it's the right call here. And the reason for that is because at high time warp, it's unlikely we would get those small biomes otherwise.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. So we're going to save those edits. Okay. Roll you out. And let's look at this. Let's try a 4-day transfer. Oh yeah, the other thing I was going to be building was that Farside lander.
Yeah, you should do that rather than the Earth orbit science ones.
I mean,
Out of the way.
I'm still not 100% sure I want to do the unguided Farside thing. Because it is a little bit risky.
How so? Like, which part is risky? That you won't have the comms, or you won't?
No, I'll definitely have comms with this setup. No, the risky part is to make sure that we can create a maneuver that will have us impact the moon in the right spot on the far side of the moon.
Okay.
Particularly because going to the near side, we have pretty good control over what craters to hit. On the far side, like we probably can get far side basin, but it's not certain. I
I feel
feel
like
like
you
that.
have just as good control hitting the far side if you wanted to. Like, especially if you go for
Yeah, if I go
a
for a bad free return, it's possible, I guess.
yeah, but it doesn't even have to be a bad free return. Like, it doesn't have to be that far much further past the moon. Like, you can be, like just outside the orbit of the moon and come in on a skimming trajectory on the far side.
Yeah, that's what I mean by a bad free return.
Oh, I thought bad free return. Okay, sorry, that's what I mean. Like, I thought a good free return had like a significantly higher apoapsis if
No, other
the
way.
moon wasn't there.
Uh, I mean, depends what you want out of your free return.
Fair enough.
I was thinking of a bad free return, aka like do a free return but hit the moon.
Okay, sure.
Um, okay, let's try it. Trying the warp button. We'll see if it actually stops warp. Yep, it did. Cool.
guess since you're already paying for like a 600 kilogram deep space avionics, I don't know, what is it, like 1.1 or 1.2 or no, sorry, it was 1.3 or 1.4, not that much more.
Sorry?
Your total mass, including the retrofire, for that stage is 1.4, I think. Maybe it's a little less.
For these two probe?
No, for the lunar lander.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. All right, that all looks fine to me. All right, so this is still going to spin because I didn't edit this one. There's something really pleasing about launching an R7. It just looks good. On the other hand, this is however many orbit. I was gonna say I don't know how many launches it is, but it's literally every orbital launch, plus those downrange launches. Oh man, you remember when I kept getting Agathorned like every single time?
Yes, I remember that.
That was
like
kind of
3 in a
brutal.
row.
That was pretty brutal.
So what rocket is ugly to you?
Delta 3 is pretty ugly.
Okay, fair enough.
Trying to think of what else is kind of ugly.
Thor Able is ugly to me.
Sorry, Thor Able.
Thor
Oh, the with the wide body fairing, not the low drag fairing.
I'm not sure. The one that looks like cotton swab.
Yes, that's the wide fairing. There's also a low drag fairing where it's the same where it looks basically like this. It's the same diameter as Able. What other rockets do I think are ugly? Saturn 1 I never particularly liked, and certainly the original plans for Saturn 1 where they stuck a Titan on top were really pretty ugly.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that one.
I mean, it's a Saturn 1 first stage with a Titan on top of it. How do you think it's going to look?
I guess. I mean, yeah, it's just got no curvature to it.
I mean, it actually doesn't look quite as bad as you'd think. Like, if you look up Super Jupiter on Astronautics, it doesn't look that bad. A bunch of the, like, Project Direct and Jupiter variants, that one of which sort of became SLS, look pretty ugly. There's also a bunch of the...
It looks fine to me. Like, it's very but
Sorry.
the Saturn one that I was looking at, like SA1, because it's got like it's all just like straight cones, and it's got 3 of them. That looks kind of derpy.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like Saturn, the original, like Block 1 Saturn 1 kind of deal.
Okay.
With the S4 on top and then the Centaur on top of that.
Yeah,
Up we go.
I just don't like the shoulder when it goes into the first stage. Just to would shorten oblique. I mean, it looks like what it is. It's a bunch of stages just kind of tacked onto each other, not designed to fit with each other.
Yeah. Hey, Piano Josh. Yeah, it's been a long time. Great to see you again. And yeah, oh god, Ares 1 and SRBX and all that stuff is just the worst combination of looks horrible and also is hilariously unsafe. Man, I forgot. I mean, it is sort of tragicomic that most of the ugly rockets are actually modern rockets. And most of them are because they're like playing Legos with rockets. Like Ares 1 or like Direct and Jupiter. Or like some of the SEI proposals were also kind of ugly.
SLS looks fine to me though.
No,
Like,
SLS looks fine. No, but if you look up,
oh no, I just meant that's another Legos
yeah,
with rockets, but it's nice.
well, I mean it's I guess it sort of is, but like it's because it's just 5 segment RSRM on with like laid out the way the shuttle was, just with a top mount stack instead of a side mount. All
And
right.
with the engines attached to the base, yeah,
Yeah.
it's still kind of Lego-y.
All right. We are still in ECI. Okay, now we can switch to MEO.
Yeah, I think because you picked a 4-day transfer, you'll be able, if you wanted to, you'll be able to do a far side landing with trajectory landing with this pretty easily. Like add 3 meters per
Yep.
second of delta V and you'd be there. Or yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Can't really see the. Oh, there's Aiken Basin. Okay. No? Where is Aitken Basin anyway?
Is
I
it that
guess it's...
spot?
guess it's... So that's the near side. So I would expect it to be here, but I don't really see it unless it's a very shallow thing. But yeah, I mean, I guess we could... I see what you mean. It's not actually that bad. Could set it up just like that.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit more. Oh yeah, and I was going to try inertially fixed. That makes...
Yeah, I think you should do what you feel comfortable with. I was just disputing that it would be hard to get the trajectory. But yeah, do what you feel like.
No, I guess we're not inertially fixed.
And yeah, I guess Aitken Basin doesn't really have the sort of like darker basalt from the near side mare.
Yeah.
Probably because the far side it gets pounded with a lot more secondary craters.
This is interesting. We launched too well. It's going to be kind of annoying to set up the
Polar orbit.
polar
Yeah.
orbits.
I mean, you can just add binormal if you want to. You've got an extra 700 meters per second of delta V.
That is true. The problem with doing that to some degree is that we want one to go in above and one to go in below. So I may just do 2 small course correction maneuvers.
Yes, that's true. That would be.
I think that's probably optimal.
Go. Yeah,
Sorry?
go equatorial. Yeah, you're right. Go equatorial and then fix it later.
All right, not quite equatorial, but close enough. And 300 kilometers is fine. Oh, I'm still in kilo. Duh. Okay. Come on, give me comms. There we are. And we're still fine.
You know, you could put in the trajectory for one of the satellites and then use the first stage to correct too.
Yes.
For the second.
Although we'll have a very high thrust to weight ratio and I think it's not going to be very much delta V, so
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's questionable. Also, the fact that I'm probably going to have to do that course correction about halfway out, and I don't want to lose all my electricity, and also it's near Fabionic, so it wouldn't work. But yeah, I could do an early course correction. It would probably fix it. Like, I think it's correct to do it about a third to half the way out.
Okay. Yeah, it is correct to do it then, but then when you're
Yeah. Okay. Perform maneuver. And Piano Josh, yeah, the whole like rotating the launch platform thing to get a launch azimuth is not something that I have bothered to try to emulate with this launch vehicle. For SLS, I mean, they were always gonna to fly it unpainted because paint is heavy and they need the performance. I mean, that's also why Shuttle stopped painting the like SDS. The first few missions they painted the tank and then they stopped because paint is heavy. Like as far as I'm aware, there wasn't like a single knowledgeable space reporter who expected them to keep it painted. Would have been pretty though, you're right. This always takes forever.
the TLI burn. Don't worry.
Yeah, TLI burn. And it's still only like a 4.5 minute burn. Well, 4 minute change burn compared to the 8 minute burns we were contemplating.
Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't too worried about it. I was looking at the background if they can etch metal with a diffraction pattern to give it color without paint, but I guess not yet.
Wait, if they can do what? I
Etch
missed.
metal.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
etch.
the problem is it isn't metal; it's the foam.
Yeah, but there's other parts of the rocket that are metal. I was actually kind of surprised they paint the rest of it white.
Oh yeah. All right, let's see what we got. Reasonably close. We underburned very slightly. That's 3 days and 4 hours. How did we do that? We wanted a 4-day transfer. Oh well.
So you're coming a little high instead of coming in equatorial.
I mean, we're coming high because we're coming in the plane of the moon's orbit, give or take.
Yeah, but
Equatorial would have been better. So the correction on one of these is going to be worse than on the other. But we have the delta V, so it's probably fine.
I mean, you're coming in high relative to the moon's orbit.
Oh yeah. I guess our land wasn't spot on.
I think your land was correct. It's just that you did your transfer burn a little bit earlier than you wanted, and then you made it a little bit more energetic than you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
And
plausible.
by a little bit more, we're talking about like, single or 2 meters per second, but
Yes, but that
yeah.
that does matter. All right. Look at what this creates. Binormal. That is an expensive correction burn. That's more expensive than I anticipated it being. Okay, so that's somewhere around there is the optimal point. Looks like right there, give or take. So yeah, this is definitely going to be expensive.
How much excess do you have? I mean, 1,500 meters per second. You're
on each of the probes, so we're fine. I wonder if we're actually better off in something like MCI. Yeah, thought so. No, actually, I guess ECI is more useful here. Maybe. The issue is that I really want the periselene at the pole rather than on the far side of the moon, but that's very hard to get. So our capture is going to be more expensive. But again, we have 1,500 meters per second. We're probably fine.
Maybe you should have made your initial orbit go straight through the moon.
Oh, that actually would have been real smart. That would have been real smart. Okay.
It actually might not be the worst thing that the trajectory isn't quite equatorial too, because that way your different probes will arrive at slightly different times.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. So we want something like an 80-degree orbit. It's super hard to tell, and I'm
That
not
looks
sure
like
if the
about
orbit
80
analyzer
degrees.
will help us. Sorry?
That looks like 80 degrees to me. Ish.
Yeah, that's about 80 degrees. All right, so then we want another maneuver, and the extra maneuver will be in MCI. It's 3 days. Okay, what kind of orbit does that give us? A 17-kilometer orbit. That's probably fine.
17,000, you mean, right?
Sorry, yes, 17 megameter orbit.
Okay.
But we also want to burn normal. Other way. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be spendy to have the periapsis there. So I think we actually want to do something like this. Move the time back. No, that didn't do what I thought it would. Weirdly, moving the time forward seemed to help.
That's You're trying to
That,
get your periapsis to be at the North Pole.
yes. Yeah, so that's not super great.
And you have the delta V to do all that if you want to.
Final trajectory. Oh, yeah, we need that. There's the analysis. Inclination 84 degrees.
Pretty good.
So we want less than that. $77.
If you actually want your P at the South Pole, then you do your binormal cross correction much later. Like it's going to be more expensive, but less expensive than doing the radial burn at the moon.
I'm not sure I follow. Like, I think the problem in general is that we're coming in sufficiently fast that we're going to get whipped around the moon. So it makes sense that the periapsis is going to be on the backside. Like, if I did the correction later, it would be more expensive. But I'm not sure I'm seeing how it would change the geometry of.
So if you picture a hill sphere around the moon, not that there is one for real, but picture there was one. The place where you're connecting with the hill sphere when you're doing the binormal correction early is above the plane of the moon's orbit significantly, right? Which means that the periapsis, if you want to do a polar orbit, the periapsis has to be on the backside because the moon's gonna pull you around, and then the periapsis has to be kind of on the backside. Whereas if you do the binormal late, you're coming in kind of at that point close to the moon's equator on that hill sphere, and then correcting high, so your periapsis ends up being right up above the pole. How I'm picturing it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Going to work out better for your second probe anyway, because your trajectory is already high. But again, you have 1500 meters per second of delta V. There's a million ways for you to fix this with that sort of delta V and time.
Yeah.
You could just, have a very high AP and then do a circularization out there and then correct to whatever periapsis you want.
Yeah. All right, so let's try a suggestion of making this rather later.
Like in 2.5 days or something like that, when you're getting close to the moon.
All right. All right, and we need to switch this to MCI at that point. think.
Done better than I do.
$609? Jeepers
No, I
creepers.
don't think you want. Yeah, I'm not sure that you want that. I think you want where are the arrows on that thing?
Want
Normal,
what?
negative. I'm gonna look at where your little
Radial.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, radial negative. There you go.
And then a little bit of... Nope.
No, just take out some of your binormal. You,
Yeah, wrong way. All right, and that's a little bit over 80, I think. That looks more like 80. Yeah, okay. This is... Man, I doubted the geometry, but you're correct. That's better. It's not all the way better.
yeah,
Actually,
it's
I
not
think it's
perfect.
about it's close to where we were before.
Kinda. Except, yeah, it's hard because you're coming in high. You can see that it flattens out, but you're still coming in high. So you could even go later if you wanted to. Gonna cost you more, but
Yeah. Cost me more, but it's still cheaper than doing that humongous radial burn. Oh, now we're...
yeah, I don't know how Principia is determining where the tangents are on that orbit, but yeah, you'd have to look at the maneuver
Yep.
inverter and figure out from those, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want prograde. You might actually want small amounts of retrograde. But definitely not prograde. You want more minus radial.
Yep. There we are. Nope. Periapsis is still about where it was.
Odd. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I think it's just that's how it works. Like, it's marginally better, I think.
Yeah, you're right, but it is marginal.
Yeah. Yeah, it just doesn't seem super worth it.
Okay. Well, thanks for humoring me.
Sure.
But I think your South Pole one for sure is going to be easier.
I don't know. Oh yeah, right. We need to delete this one. Look at this one. And in ECI, yeah, it's an ECI. I don't think normal will change much. It changes a little. Can fine tune things that way. I think that's mostly changed in time. And yeah, I don't really detect any difference in where that periselene is. So we need to capture so I can get the orbit analyzer to tell me what. Oh, jeez. Oh yeah, no, it's a full 3 days. Okay. There. What do we think this is going to be? We think this is 75 degrees. And we have to change the time of this. Okay. All right, there's an 80-degree orbit. Now, it is extremely annoying that it is pointed that way. However, it doesn't really matter that much because like let's look in ECI. Because this is fixed relative to the fixed stars, and this is rotating. So there will come a point where this portion is on the far side of the moon, and that's the time that we want to be flying.
Yeah. But you can also adjust so it's polar. Another option would be to don't do quite so much negative tangent at the no, don't do quite so much retrograde at the periapsis and then
Yeah.
correct, like halfway out.
That's an option. Another option is to come in much further away from the moon.
Yep.
Where relative velocity would be lower, so we'll lose on orbit effect, but we'll gain the ability to burn normal and correct the curvature of the orbit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's make a super minimal orbit. And then let's add another maneuver. Oops, I was moving the wrong one. That's right about under the pole, is it not? Wait a little longer.
A little longer, yeah.
That's more like it. Okay. Now, we want to burn normal a whole lot.
We're doing the right thing. Plus normal minus retrograde.
Yeah. That really didn't change it that much.
I guess you're going too fast out there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a fairly expensive maneuver. 600 meters per second to correct that to something more like this.
Yep.
But the cost of lowering the orbit
You saved yourself 90 meters per second there.
Hmm?
Your cost of lowering the orbit was 90 meters per second less.
Okay. To go from
You were at 300 before and then went to 215. On the second maneuver, the capture maneuver.
how is it changing that? Shouldn't be
Because
changing.
you didn't.
Sorry. Oh, no. We're talking about different costs here. Eventually, I'm going to make this a low lunar orbit probe to get all the mapping of everything.
Sure.
Which means going from 20 megameters to 10 megameters of apostellene is non-trivial.
Gotcha.
That's probably another 100 meters per second or more. Excuse me. Yeah, okay. This is kind of ludicrous, but sure. The important thing is that we'll have... no, I need to do a little more here. Oops. A little too far. Okay.
It's interesting that it's precessing so much.
Yeah, given that this is a frozen orbit, I'm not sure quite what's going on. Okay, so what if we...
Is it because your PE is still too low?
Probably. Let's do even less.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. If you can do it like a day away from the moon instead of 2 hours away from
Yep.
the moon, you'll have a much higher AP, but should be.
Yeah, but that's fine. We want that broadly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's not quite at the pole. Okay. That's closer to the pole. Right.
It also had like 20 meters per second of normal out really cheaply at the second maneuver. Will adjust your trajectory some, give you more time going south.
Not quite sure I follow.
You're already doing 100 meters per second of retrograde at the PE. Can do some binormal cheaply.
Yes.
Sorry, some normal cheaply.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we want some of this, I think.
Kind of wish those lines were thicker for the maneuver lines. It's hard to see them.
Yep. Let's extend this out even more. And then increase the time. That's a little too far. Yeah, okay, so now we're up to 30 megameters.
I'm surprised the maneuver is still so expensive out there.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked too. The reason why it's so expensive is because we haven't done the capture yet. Really.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yep, you're right. Maybe you should just do a capture to 30 with a 30 megameter apoapsis and then circularize at 30 megameters.
Yeah, and then go down again. I think that's probably going to end up being cheaper.
Yeah.
That's almost certainly going to be cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even higher, honestly. 30 is probably good.
Kind of nice that the plan will tell you essentially when you can get that apoapsis when it's too late.
Mm-hmm. All right, are we still at, we're still close to 80 degrees. We can always fix it. The other thing is, should we just start with a higher periselene?
With this approach,
Yeah.
a higher periselene just means you lose O-berth without getting much out of it.
No, you get some out of it.
I mean, getting less out of it. That's a genuine question.
So let's see how this works. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I was going to see if that moved the argument of periselene, but I don't think it is.
Your screen went black.
Yeah, I loaded a save.
Gotcha. I feel like I'm not doing my job here. I'm just making you waste time.
No, it's like a.
Also, it's
yeah, I know it's way over. There's also that part. Okay, so let's look at the. Let's look at the periselene rays. That's about right. And look at it from this side so that I can actually see it.
Almost looked like Principia was processing your orbit the way you wanted it to anyway.
Yeah, a little bit. So that's 18. And we need to increase the plan duration. 29. All right. So yeah, we're still looking at about 500 meters per second.
I wonder if Lunar Gateway's orbit is perpendicular to the Earth-Moon plane because that's where it's more stable.
I don't actually know that much about Lunar Gateway. I thought it was going to be at like EML2.
I thought it was a low periapsis, high apoapsis orbit around the moon.
Yeah, it could well be. All right, so we're still looking at somewhere approximately 500 meters per second for this one.
Hmm.
Oop, a little too far.
Yeah, it is. It is what I said it was. I'll post a link if you want to look at a picture.
.31 by 36. We don't need that much. .30 by 35, still too much. 34.28. Let's shift the timing on this. My hunch is that's going to be approximately circular now. Okay, so we're currently at 33. All right, and by construction, we know that it's going to be about 250 to lower it again. So yeah, this is still the cheapest maneuver.
Yeah, makes sense. I've done this one before, but I thought maybe there would be a fancier option, or at least one that takes less time to do all the raises and lowers.
Yeah. I think actually probably the optimal configuration is actually going this way rather than polar, because then you get better coverage of the far side. But with only two of them, I think it probably has to be polar. And we don't want to lower it all at once, actually.
Yeah.
So I think this is basically how we'll go.
I mean, you could keep it the way it was if you just time your lunar landing so that they're both, basically opposite, like on the other side of the planet. When
Yep.
the moon's out there, then you're essentially doing a Molniya orbit around the moon.
Yep.
And it'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the plan.
Yeah.
Is to have them both near their aposelines.
Yeah.
Okay. With that done, I'm going to call it quits rather than actually trying to fly this mission. So, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Letting me goof around with your orbit plan here.
Sure. And thank you, everybody, for watching. I will catch you next time. Bye.
Later.